defending the free market, and making the moral case for capitalism. The Justin Moore Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Justin Moore Show. This is Justin Moore. Now you guys might have noticed that my voice isn't exactly normal. Well, I just got back from FreedomFest a few days ago, and it seems like a lot of people there were kind of losing their voice and getting sick, and I'm actually kind of suffering through a cold right now. So I kind of been delaying recording this episode. It's like, dang, I hope my voice gets better here, and so far it's not. So you're just gonna have to bear with me. And actually, I'm gonna keep this episode shorter than normal, because the last time I had a problem with my voice, I ended up recording a 40-minute episode. Talking for 40 minutes straight with a struggling voice. I ended up losing my voice for 10 days straight, and I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to get laryngitis, and so I'm just going to keep this short. And so I have to say, guys, I'm basically going to dedicate this episode and just talk about FreedomFest. Now, last week, yes, I was at FreedomFest. It was, I think, July 12th through the 16th, and it was just, I was in Vegas for 5 days straight. Let me just say, what an incredible event. There was over 250 speakers there. They had the judge, Andrew Napolitano. He gave an amazing speech talking about, just when you hear that guy speak, how he has no notes. He's rattling all this off from the top of his head. Just how much knowledge he has. Obviously, anyone who knows who the judge is, he's smart as heck anyway. But, man, he is an incredible speaker. So it was great to see him up there. George Foreman, the boxer guy, the George Foreman Grill, he gave a speech, motivational speech. That was good. And there's just all sorts of great debates. And like you guys know that I moderated a panel where we talked about Austrian economics. And on the panel, I had Gene Epstein, who you guys, if you listen to Tom Wood's show, Gene Epstein has been on his show as a guest many times. He's like a Barron's Magazine chief editor, and he's an economist. Had him on. Chris Casey, who I've had on this show, he was on my panel. Keith Weiner, who I've had on my show, he was on the panel. Dr. Robert Murphy, or Bob Murphy, who also does he's the co-host of the Contra Krugman podcast with Tom Woods. He was on my panel. And let's see, there's one more. Oh, Adrian Day, who has an asset fund. Basically, he focuses on investing in gold. He was on my panel. And, oh man, the panel was great. We actually had a pretty large sized room for our little panel. There was probably over 200 people in the room. Every seat was taken. There were people standing up in the back, and they had to stand the whole time, this was like a 40-minute session. And you could tell people really enjoyed it. And just like the amount of value that was said during that panel, and because all these guys who were on the panel are just incredibly smart guys. They're experts in this stuff on the economy. And actually what I'm going to do for next week, all the sessions that are at FreedomFest, they're recorded. Well, I ended up paying for the session that I moderated. And so for next week's episode, I'm going to release the panel discussion. And so I think you guys will really enjoy it. You'll get a lot out of it. You'll get to hear what the experts have to say about the economy and what's most likely to come, and what's really going on in the economy. And so, but going to events like FreedomFest, I really come across on my podcast here as, like I'm really pessimistic, and kind of like doom and gloom. There is a lot of bad stuff that's going to be happening to the economy. There's no question about it. But going to an event like FreedomFest, it gives me hope. Because you just look at the amount of talent we have on the libertarian side. It's amazing. Look at the incredibly smart people and successful people that we have who are staunch libertarians. Bill Bonner, who's a billionaire, he was at FreedomFest. Incredibly smart guy. Mark Skousen, Doug Casey, Rick Rule. Just incredibly smart people. And, honestly to me, Doug Casey and Rick Rule, they really are like Ayn Rand characters. That is really how I kind of view those guys. and just kind of how, their demeanor and all that. It just reminds me of Ayn Rand characters. I can't really explain it. It just does. And actually, I had the opportunity at FreedomFest. I got to have lunch with Doug Casey and his co-author, John Hunt. Yeah, so it was just the three of us having lunch. That was really cool, because I look up to Doug Casey. I find him to be, he is so fascinating. Actually, he is the most fascinating guy I have ever met. And I've met Doug Casey several times. And actually, what I was supposed to do, prior to going to Freedom Fest, I had talked with Doug Casey. And I had planned on doing an interview down there with Doug Casey, because he has a new book that has come out called Speculator. And it's a novel. Doug was kind enough to send me an advanced copy of the novel. And so I read it before leaving for Freedom Fest, because I planned on doing the interview. I took my portable mic down with me and, my little lapel mics. And I was a little nervous about doing an in-person interview, because my mic setup, how do I know? I wouldn't know if the interview actually recorded and worked and how it sounds until it's done, So it really worried me and concerned me. Like, what if one of the mics loses battery power in the middle of the interview and I don't know it? And so I was worried about that. But what ended up happening is Doug's like, you know what? Let's just do the interview in September instead. That might actually work better. And because I know he was really busy down there at Freedom Fest. And that'll work better for me, just because I have a lot more confidence using Skype and knowing that the interview will turn out as compared to my portable mics setup. And so we agreed that I'm going to be interviewing Doug Casey and his co-author, John Hunt, in September. And actually, the reason why we say September, Doug's actually officially launching his book in September, and John Hunt's book. Yeah, and it is called Speculator. And, Doug, he's never written a novel before. All of his books before are nonfiction. They focus on investing, that sort of thing. So this is a fiction book, Doug's first fiction book. And guys, I'm not just saying this because, it's Doug Casey, whatever. This novel is incredible. For those of you out there who have read Atlas Shrugged, you love the sort of philosophy, the economics, all tied into an amazing story. That is exactly what Doug has accomplished in this novel. I kid you not. And actually, Doug's known, in the gold and silver industry. He's a legend, okay? And you guys would know this. And he actually has, Doug's actually basically completely sold out of Casey Research. She sold it to to Porter Stansberry. But Doug still has a very small interest in it. But, Casey Research really focuses on gold and silver investing. And I'm actually a subscriber to Casey Research. But in this book, and what Doug has done, and he's always talked about the 9 P's of investing. In order to focus and find a good investment with gold, you need good people, financing, place, price. He has all these sort of P's, that if you focus on those things, and the people part is the most important, because if you don't trust the management team, and if you can't trust the competence of the management of the company, and you're not sure if their interests are aligned with shareholders, then you shouldn't be investing in that company. But what Doug does in this book, he goes through the 9 P's. He lays out investing in gold and silver companies in the novel itself. And so to me, reading the book was a lot like, for those of you who have watched the movie The Big Short, which The Big Short, it's a fascinating take on the housing crisis and what actually took place. It's based on a true story. And it's informative at the same time. It gives you definitions like what's a collateralized debt obligation, a CDO, all these sort of things. But it's a fantastic story at the same time. And this is exactly what Doug Casey and John Hunt do in their new book, Speculator. And so please, guys, go on Amazon, look it up. I think it's on Amazon now, or you might have to wait until September, because I did get the advanced copy he sent that I put on my Kindle, and then I got the actual softcover version that I got signed by both of them while I was at Freedom Fest. But you guys need to read this book, just the philosophy, and you can just tell as I'm reading the novel, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Doug Casey right there. You can just pick out his philosophy that's within the novel and within the characters. And so I look forward to interviewing Doug and John in the future there. And yeah, as I said, just being able to have lunch with Doug Casey and John Hunt. what an absolute pleasure that was. I mean, just incredible. Doug is such a brilliant mind, and he gives you, I've heard him give the most amazing advice. Doug is one of those guys, like you hear him say things, it's like, it's always going contrary to conventional wisdom. There's one time I heard him say, and he recommends this to people, who are, say, millennials, you're not sure what to do with your life, but you want to do something big. You want to become successful. Well, Doug Casey has recommended, and actually when I was having lunch with him, he's recommended, yeah, Justin, you should go move to Africa. But he recommends young people go find and live in some obscure country in Africa. There's actually one country he was recommending that starts with a Z, as like Zimba. I'm not sure what it is. It's really not very populated, but he recommends a country that you live in where you could basically meet the president in a week. And he gives all this sort of advice where people want to make connections with you, especially if you're white. That's just kind of how it works. In general, looking at the African population, they are a lot less educated than, say, an American. And so you have a huge advantage living in Africa as a young person. And you can use that to, build a fantastic business over there or whatever. Especially with the internet nowadays, you can run your business anywhere in the world. And especially how we're being taxed the hell out of here in the United States, it does seem like a pretty good idea. And so guys, as I said, I'm looking forward to interviewing Doug and his co-author John Hunt in the future. And actually, I think John Hunt, he's the CEO and founder of Liberty Health Shares. I'll have to look into that because he's actually he's a former medical doctor. And when you read the book Speculator, you'll notice some of the medical jargon used. As I was reading that, I'm like, holy crap! I didn't realize Doug Casey knew this much about the medical field. But turns out it was John Hunt, his co-author, who was writing that part. But it's amazing how they brought this novel together because it's written in one voice. And when I was talking with John Hunt, he made the point that, by the time they finished the novel, he couldn't figure out which parts Doug Casey had written and which part he had written because they mingled it together so well. And it's just such an amazing book. Please, guys, you're going to need to get it. And actually what's so fantastic is this is a thick book. It's around 400 pages. And actually Doug Casey and John Hunt, they're doing it's a 6-part series. The next book is called Drug Lord. And they're going through and they're basically turning conventional wisdom on its head with every single book. And the last book in the series, I think, is called Antichrist. But anyway, we'll get into all this when I interview Doug Casey and John Hunt on the show here. So please, guys, make sure you get that figured out. So please make sure you guys order that. Actually, I think what I'll try to do, I'll try to put up a link for the book on my website so you guys can just click on it and it'll take you right to Amazon where the book's at. So just be looking for that. And, oh man, I'm going to lose my voice here. I'm talking more than I planned on. So let me just say, also when I was at FreedomFest, I got the chance to sing karaoke with Bob Murphy. Yeah, Bob Murphy, he's known to love singing karaoke. That's like one of his favorite things to do, I guess. Dr. Murphy, I've had him on my show last year, right before Freedom Fest. We talked about the Great Depression and how the government's made it worse. He's an incredibly smart guy. And yeah, you guys know him from the Contra Krugman podcast. And actually, after I sang my first song, Dr. Murphy came up to me. He's like, dang, I didn't know you could sing. And he's like, Elton John songs, they're hard to sing. And that's mostly what I sing are Elton John songs. Actually, that night I sang 3 of them because that's all they had time for because they only had the karaoke for a few hours. And so it was great to, connect with Bob and it was just an awesome time. And that was the last day. That was Friday night. We did the karaoke. That's basically the last night I had my voice. I mean, thank God. And then since then, it's kind of just been crap, And I haven't announced this yet, but I am going to be going on the Contra cruise. Now, if you guys haven't heard about that, if you listen to the Contra Krugman podcast that has Tom Woods and Bob Murphy as the 2 hosts, they debunk Paul Krugman's New York Times columns every single week. It's a weekly podcast, just like this one. And they're putting on a cruise, and I think most of the rooms are taken, but they are going to be doing karaoke on the cruise and all sorts of little events, and it's a chance to get to know Bob and get the chance to mingle with, Bob Murphy and Tom Woods. So I'm looking forward to that. That's in October. And so if any of you guys plan on going, I recommend you sign up very soon because they really are almost out of room for that cruise. And so if you guys want a chance to hear me sing, see if I really can sing or not, please, I'd love to see you guys there. And Bob Murphy is just a really good guy, and he's fun to hang out with. And so I'm telling you guys totally missed out on Freedom Fest this year. And, Gary Johnson was there. I got a chance to meet Rand Paul. I met Senator Ben Sass. There's just so much going on. We all have slightly different interests from each other, and at Freedom Fest, you're going to find something you're interested in. There's something for everybody there. And you have to understand, say you go to some speech by, say, Bob Murphy or Tom Woods show up and they give a speech and there's several hundred people there in attendance. Most likely you're not going to get more than 30 seconds to, maybe you'll just get a picture with them. That's it. But at Freedom Fest, when you have over 250 speakers there, there's a lot of big names at Freedom Fest. You have a chance. You can really talk with a lot of these big time guys, because all the focus isn't on that one big name because there's several big names there. Right. And so I strongly recommend you guys go there. And next year they're actually moving Freedom Fest to Paris, which is next door to Planet Hollywood. I know this last year, this Freedom Fest I just went to was at Planet Hollywood. And actually I'm going to have to update my bonus episode for before Freedom Fest next year. So I can give you guys updated information about Paris. And I can tell you guys, get this. When I stayed, you know what I paid for my hotel for 5 nights going to Freedom Fest this year? Take a guess. I spent $153 total. That's including all taxes and fees. That's including resort fees, everything. Okay. And actually the hotel I stayed at, it's going to be an even better deal to stay there because the way you can get to the Paris, it's so easy. It's going to be so quick. I know exactly where the convention center is at Paris. Oh man, seriously, you're going to want to get my bonus episode. Think about it. For people who stayed at Planet Hollywood, they probably spent $600 and $650, maybe $700 for 5 nights. Okay. And I spent $153. So, let's figure if they did spend, $650, I saved $547. Okay. So I could save you guys could donate $50 to my show and I can save you $550. And that's just for the hotel. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to teach you how to play blackjack and also give you advice on how to save a lot of money on your flights. And so you guys, seriously, donate $50 to my show so I can release bonus episodes. And so you're going to get your value's worth out of that. And seriously, guys, you're not going to want to miss Freedom Fest next year. Actually, William Shatner, yes, the guy from Star Trek, the Priceline negotiator himself, he will be there. And so there's going to be a big draw from that, I'm sure. And apparently the Paris Convention Center is a lot bigger than Planet Hollywood, where it can hold up to 3,000 people or something like that. So I think that's part of the reason they're moving it to Paris. But guys, seriously, it's going to be a blast. I plan on seeing many of you at Freedom Fest next year. You need to go. If you're a libertarian minded, if you're conservative minded, oh my gosh, you will be in heaven. I can't stress to you the value you will get from Freedom Fest, the connections you can make. The average person that's there, Freedom Fest attracts genuine, great people. You can make lifelong friends at Freedom Fest. And there's getting to be a younger and younger crowd there at Freedom Fest. If you're looking for a future wife, hey, there's a lot of good looking women who go to Freedom Fest. Those libertarian women, not bad. So I plan on seeing all of you guys there. Well, okay, not all of you, but let's make it a point for next year, Freedom Fest 2017. I want you guys there, okay? You put it on your calendars. I think it's going to be July 20 something. So, this next year will be later. So put it down in your calendar. And now, just very, very briefly, I got to wrap this up. I'm losing my voice here. Last week, the Republican convention took place. Donald Trump, he chose his VP candidate, who will be Mike Pence, which actually, I was surprised. That was a very, very good pick for Trump to make. The best pick he probably could have made. And, Pence is a conservative. He's the current governor of Indiana, former congressman. He is a very conservative guy. Certainly Trump could have made a lot worse choices. Certainly Trump really, if he would have chosen Chris Christie, he could have made some horrible choices. But however, I'm still not going to vote for Trump regardless of who his VP pick is. But that might actually attract some conservatives over. Some are like, I really can't vote for Donald Trump. But Mike Pence, man, if he's got the ear of Donald Trump, and now there's like these people, I don't know, there's like rumors going around that Trump, he wants to delegate a lot of his powers essentially and a lot of the decision making to the VP, Mike Pence, in terms of domestic policy. And so I don't know if Donald Trump, kind of like Obama, wants to be the visionary, something like that. But who knows? Maybe Trump's just saying that just to get the conservatives on board, and he could still appeal to the Bernie Sanders people at the same time. I don't know. Okay, I trust Trump as far as I can throw him, which isn't very far. Then with the controversy of, Melania Trump, the plagiarizing thing, whatever. Who gives a darn? She's not even from this country. It's her speechwriter who wrote the speech. And, a lot of these guys plagiarize as it is. Look at Joe Biden. He was known for plagiarizing speeches, and Ted Kennedy, and you name it. And actually, one of my blackjack dealers, when I was at FreedomFest, her name was Melina. She's from Cambodia. And I'm like, hey, your name is like Donald Trump's wife. And of course, she had no idea who Donald Trump was. So it's like trying to explain everything. It's like, okay, never mind. But her name was Melina, and then we had Melania. But anyway, that is an added benefit of playing blackjack too. So many of these dealers, they're from different countries all over the world. I've had a number of these dealers. I know a lot of them personally now. A lot of them are from, over in Ethiopia. And you just get a chance to get a different perspective on things. I don't just play blackjack just because I'm some sort of gambling maniac. I'm not. I literally look at it as, I look at it as it's a recreational sort of thing for me. It's fun, just playing the minimums and just having a blast. And there is a certain way to play it where you can have probability in your favor. The house still has a 0.5% edge, but the average person who plays blackjack, they have no idea what they're doing, and the house edge is much, much higher, and they lose their ass. I can't tell you how many people I've been at the table with them. They all end up losing. No one ever comes ahead. It's amazing. But anyway, if you guys get my bonus episode, if you donate to my show via PayPal, just go to my website, justinmooreshow.com. More is spelled M-O-H-R. You donate $50. You get my bonus episode. I teach you how to play blackjack. You learn how to play blackjack better than 95% of the people out there. Let me tell you, it is true. Or should I sound like Donald Trump here? Believe me. Okay? Believe me, boys. Believe me. And so please, guys, just do that. It's only $50. And, as I said, I will get you to save $550 just on your hotel for Freedom Fest next year. No problem. And so please make sure you do that. And now it's the best $50 you can spend. Now, the Democrat convention is taking place this week. It looks like Hillary may have chosen Tim Kaine. That's what it looks like. And, he's the current Virginia senator. Virginia is a swing state. So, yeah, maybe it's a good move because the Democrats will need Virginia. I don't know. He's a moderate Democrat compared to who she could have picked. I don't know. I think if she would have picked Bernie Sanders, she could have definitely easily have beaten Donald Trump. I think just because the Bernie Sanders supporters, there was a lot of energy in that base there, and they probably would have voted for Hillary. Who knows what they're going to do now? But since I've been gone from the podcast, because I recorded those last three basically in 3 days, So I just plowed through them. So it's basically been a few weeks since I've recorded a podcast. We've had so much going on. Gold and silver have retreated in price. It's in correction mode right now, which there was a lot of new money that was coming in. So I was expecting this, so it's a great time to get in. Right now, as I'm recording this episode, there's a Munich shooting that's taking place. 9 dead so far. A gunman basically started in McDonald's, taking people out. These last few weeks, United States, several policemen have died, have been gunned down. There was this guy in Nice, France, who drove some vehicle for like a mile through crowded streets, killing 84 people. Just all sorts of craziness going out there. Ladies and gentlemen, There's just so much uneasiness going on right now in the economy. And we haven't even seen a collapse yet. Our economy hasn't even headed for a downturn yet. So my question, what will the streets look like when people have economically been destroyed? What will the crime be like then? What about the murder rates? All I know is it's not going to be good, my friends. And so you need to protect yourself now. So, So please, guys, if you get a chance, I'm glad to be back home from FreedomFest. I need a break from Vegas for a while here. My next big trip is the Contra Cruise, so I hope to see you guys there in October. Sailing Liberty at Sea's cruise ship. It's actually going to be my first cruise. And yeah, come hear me sing Elton John. It's going to be a blast. I sing most of Elton John's greatest hits. So there's a number of them I do sing. So if you guys want to help me out on my show here, so I can keep delivering and coming out with new episodes every single week. And so, just go to my website, justinmooreshow.com. More is spelled M-O-H-R. Make your Amazon purchases through my website. You just click on the little Amazon widget there. It takes you right to the Amazon homepage. I get a small commission back on everything you buy there. It costs you nothing extra. It's because I'm sending you to their site. And so that helps me out. And that helps you out by helping me deliver value on my show here. So please, guys, if you can do that for me, and as I mentioned earlier on the episode, donate to me directly via PayPal, $50 to get my bonus episodes. There's more bonus episodes to come. We'll save you a lot of money that way. And just, go back, listen to old episodes if you're just coming on board here. I just thank you guys so much for being here this week with me. And I will talk with all you guys next week. And I'm looking forward to it. This is Justin Moore, signing off.